It's very easy to complain about certain game mechanics or stuff like that, and of course we do plenty of it and will do plenty of it in the future. But it's also great to take a moment, step back and say, you know what? What's really good in video games? What mechanics do I particularly like, either that have been around forever or that have come around in recent years or decades for that matter, that just made gaming better? Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 video game mechanics that are simply superior. Starting off at number 10, something you might not really think about very much, but in-game cutscenes. Now, I know not everybody watching this was there in the PlayStation 1 and 2 days when cutscenes were always FMVs or full motion video. I hated it. Now, I'm not saying PlayStation 1 games were the definition of aesthetic beauty, but I always prefer cutscenes that were done in-game over pre-rendered ones. Yes, there was somewhat of a novelty to the Final Fantasy VII intro and stuff that happened in that game, but going back to it in particular, it's like, wow, if only this was possible, not in these FMVs. Like, they really do look bad. Now, to be fair, in-game and in-engine are different things, but I'm just going to make this simple dichotomy. If you take load times out of the equation, and by the way, you couldn't do that in the 90s when this was how things were, but if you take that out of the equation, I'm okay with an FMV if it just looks like the game, like what's going on in the game. Now, this can be a problem if a game allows wardrobe swapping of any kind, and I mean of any kind, even minor little swaps. But in an in-engine cutscene, you can make your guy or woman or whatever look as stupid as possible, and that translates to these somber or emotionally charged cutscenes, and it's great. I love it. There is nothing better than waltzing into a serious scene in your underwear, wearing a mascot costume, or just being like your standard fashion nightmare. I find that very funny, and it's just not possible with full motion video. It's just easier to get immersed in a game's story when the presentation doesn't change completely between scenes. I know that sounds contradictory, that a game is actually more immersive with in-engine cutscenes, even though they probably look worse than pre-rendered ones, particularly the further back you go, but it's true. When characters look different between FMVs and gameplay, like they're not wearing the same clothes, or you're holding a different weapon, or they move different, or, I mean, in the case of Final Fantasy VII, there really isn't a lot of consistency between the characters at all. In full motion videos, sometimes they look like the blocky characters, sometimes they look like decked out full, like, movie renders. I mean, that's a weird one, and it does take you out of it. At the time, we were marveling at the fact that it could even be done, but I don't know about you, but I certainly did not really comprehend a lot of the things that I comprehend now. And it would be very bad if that were not the case. Final Fantasy X as well, like, that one is even weirder because it does both in-engine and full motion video. I mean, that's extra jarring.
Ships carrying the players are arriving now.
And number 9 is perfect dodges. There's a simple joy in watching some heavily armored fool roll around all over the place, and dodging is a pretty essential part of most games. It's satisfying on its own, but there's one mechanic that makes mashing that circle button so much better, and it's perfect dodging. Platinum is who popularized this mechanic with Bayonetta's Witch Time, and they're still the masters of implementing it. But so many games use some form of this mechanic, and it's always satisfying. Just wait until an enemy is about to hit you, then dodge at the very last moment to trigger a perfect dodge, which slows down time and lets you wail on the bad guys for a while until the timer goes out. It's so damn satisfying to pull these off, and any game that includes it is made better by its inclusion. Assassin's Creed Odyssey has it, Breath of the Wild has it, literally any game by Platinum, including Final Fantasy XVI, where they co-developed and basically assisted. That's got perfect dodge, and it's great. And while we're on the subject, I might as well bring up parry mechanics. I mean, they're essentially the same thing, only if you screw up a parry, you're eating dirt. If you mess up a perfect dodge, it's still probably going to dodge, just a little too early. Listen, parry mechanics though, awesome. Nine Souls is easily one of the best games of the year, but even as a dyed-in-the-wool parry defender, I'm gonna say that parries are getting a little overdone. Like, every single game doesn't need them. I mean, I like them, but depending on how much they're required, they do kind of fundamentally change how a game is played. And in parry-heavy games, you're always going to be more reactive than proactive. And planting yourself in one spot and kind of standing there and parrying everything, that's usually the best victory strategy in those games. And I like that, but it works well in a well-balanced battle system. And sometimes a developer doesn't know how to balance for parrying. They know how to do a good battle system, but get what I'm saying? So to me, parrying is more of a sometimes food, but perfect dodging is like rice or chicken or something. You can make it into basically anything. Goes well, at least in my opinion. At number 8, maps that get updated in real time. Every game needs a good map, but the best ones are the ones that update in real time, obviously. If you played any recent survival horror games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There are in-game maps that give you a lay of the land and tell you what rooms you haven't been to, what doors are open by which key, all that other kind of stuff. The Resident Evil remakes, great for this. They don't just have nice, clean, easy-to-read maps. They color code each room or area and tell you whether they've been cleared or not. Dead Space, solid map as well, but for me personally, I just love it when the map information is diegetic, like it's an actual map the character's taking notes on. The Silent Hill games are the innovators here. You'd pick up an actual map in-game, and then as you explore each area, the maps would slowly get covered in red lines and notes written in the margins. The remake takes the idea and runs with it, adding puzzle clues and even some clever ideas like making it so the map gets redrawn entirely in the otherworld areas when the layout changes. It's brilliantly done, and I wish more games would do it. I know Last of Us Part 2 does it as well. Just another way those games were pretty heavily inspired by Silent Hill. If you don't believe me, just compare the menu sounds. They're almost identical.
Ah, nice. I'll mark it up as we go.
And number 7 is sprint and dash. If there's one thing that makes going back to certain old games tough, it's the lack of a sprint button. It's common in pretty much every game now, but it took a while to get there. Sure, the original Doom actually does have a run button, and many of those early FPS games played like you were wearing rocket skates, zooming all over the place super fast. But there was an awkward middle period in FPS games where they got more cinematic and realistic, and this was, that era right before Call of Duty's popularity made sprinting standard. Yeah, I went back and checked. The original 2 Call of Duty games did not have sprint. Call of Duty 3 had it, but only in multiplayer. So you could have said that Call of Duty 3 really popularized sprint, but I think Modern Warfare is probably what really did it. Like, go back and try to play an FPS that doesn't have sprint. It is torturous. I mean, that isn't to say some of them don't hold up okay without it. I mean, they do. But then you get stuff like Unreal 2 where going anywhere and doing anything is super slow. It's easy to forget that many features that are everywhere today didn't used to be really that common, sprint in particular. It's easy to complain about modern gaming, but this is one of those things where modern games are almost universally better, and it's just because they let you move at what seems like a decent pace. And number 6 is the grappling hook. Has the inclusion of a grappling hook ever made a game worse? I can only think of them making games better, and that is a universal statement. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 rare exceptions to that rule, but in general, you just can't go wrong with a grappling hook. It's platforming, but better. Sure, you can climb that building like a chump if you really want, an idiot hanging off the side of a building like some erstwhile clown, or you can smoothly pull yourself up with the elegant grace of the grapple. Be it in gun or in hook form, it doesn't really matter, as long as it does the all-important task of attaching to something and then pulling you towards it.
Okay, there we go. I see some light down below.
Modern games love the grapple. In fact, it's appearing so much that it's even a little in danger of being, played out. Like the parry. I mean, if it's possible for it to get played out. But I would have sounded weird to say anything like that to me years ago, because seriously, just think of any major game, and it's probably got some kind of grappling hook in it. The difference, though, is that it's always an improvement. It's always more fun to zip up to a ledge than it is to laborious climb to get to the same spot. Grapples don't just make great games better, they can make something that might otherwise be forgettable or pretty standard into something special, like Gravity Circuit, a Mega Man-inspired game with an inspired grapple that can be used to swing on ceilings or grab enemies and fling them around. It's fantastic. Or hell, even something like Bionic Commando, which is a third-person shooter that's nothing special, but being able to swing around makes it a lot of fun to play. Hardly a great game, but the swinging is awesome. Grappling hooks are never going to ruin a game. It's just that simple. And they could possibly take something that sucks and make it halfway decent. Such is the power of the hook.
Son of a...
At number 5 is going prone. Being able to go prone is an underrated feature in games that a lot of developers seem afraid to add to their games, either because it made them too complex or because it's just difficult to implement. Think about it though. What feature does some of the all-time best stealth games have? Crawling. And not just crawling through vents, I mean getting down on your knees and getting real low to the ground to avoid detection. The Metal Gear Solid games all have it, the second Last of Us has it, and that's why the stealth in the game is significantly better than the first.
I don't know. Search the courtyard. You, hold the cafeteria. I'll cover here.
Right.
Call of Duty famously introduced it way back with its first entry. Going prone is a sign that your game's legit. It adds a layer of control that a lot of games just don't have, and especially in stealth games, its absence is notable. I mean, take any Assassin's Creed game. It took them years to finally add a proper crouch, but stealth can still feel awkward without the ability to really hide yourself. Yes, crouching is nice, but prone is the superior version of crouching. And number 4 is active reload. We all know reloading in games. You press a button, the canned animation starts. Hopefully it ends eventually, and you continue shooting bullets. Boring! Wow, that was an... I don't know why I said it that way. Overdone, I think. But if only there was some way to make the active reloading more skill-based and, well, active. Wait a minute, there is! It's called Active Reload, and Gears of War popularized it. How it works is that you hit the button to reload, and then you need to hit the button again at the right time to trigger a perfect reload, which makes it so you reload the gun faster, and all the new bullets in the clip do more damage.
Only one left!
Get the timing wrong and the reload can take longer, or if you ignore it completely, the reload takes an average amount of time.
High ground on the left! Flank up!
So it's a simple risk-reward system that takes a very basic action that you do in every shooter and makes it a little more interesting. It's not something that's appeared in every game, and honestly that's good because it does get exhausting after a while. If that one became as popular as the parry, I think I would hate it, actually. But in the games that are kind of designed around it, it's a mechanic that's actually pretty welcome. Other than Gears, active reloads tend to appear in shooters that are a little more arcadey and intentionally gamey, like Returnal or Call of Juarez Gunslinger. It tends to appear in games where you have infinite ammo, too, because otherwise, what would even be the point of reloading if you never run out of bullets? Gears is the originator as far as I can remember, and those games still do it the best, but it's one of those mechanics that does work, even though it's relatively rare now. Maybe even because it's relatively rare. At At number 3 is the double jump. A good jump can be satisfying, but you know what's always better? A double jump. It's a surefire mechanic for gaming goodness. You cannot go wrong with a good double jump. I love platforming games. Like, they're my first love when it comes to gaming, in fact. But if you got one shot in every jump, it can get pretty annoying. You could argue that that makes it more skill-based, but I would also say that there's an argument against that as well, that the double jump actually makes it more skills-based if the levels are designed around a double jump.
You're a supper first, a god second.
Lead the way.
But it's super annoying when just like, oh, I jumped and now I'm dying because I'm falling down the bottomless pit because I have no way of changing this. So having air control doesn't just make these sections easier, but honestly more fun. It just gives you more control, like you have a way to make up for mistakes that isn't surefire necessarily. Like I said, if you design the level around the double jump, it's arguable that it actually makes it easier. But the idea that you can make up for a mistake or get a little extra boost when you need it is good. And it adds mechanical complexity to basic jumps because you got to time that second jump, save it, or not even use it at all occasionally. On top of that, it just looks cool. The longer you can spend airborne in a game, the more fun it is. It's just a fact of life, okay? That's why flying games are canonically the funnest games, right? You're always in the air. Just facts, people. Simple math. Jumping once is fun. Double jumping is twice as fun. It's double the amount of entertainment. That's what this is. And pretty much every game has a double jump. It's all of them. It's easier to list games that don't have it than games that have it. But there's a reason for that. It's superior. Period. End of story. And number 2 is destructibility. Being able to blow something up is always superior to not being able to blow it up. Duh. Like, is there any argument against that? Like, most games still don't let players run wild and destroy everything. Let their inner 3-year-olds smash the world to pieces like they smashed up others' carefully constructed Lego castle. But the more they allow it, the better. Now, to be fair, when a game doesn't have this, it's not because it's not fun. It's because it's hard to make a game with a lot of destruction. That's it. That's the reason. They don't do it, because it's not on top of the list. Like, you can make a great game without it, and man, oh man, is it a lot of work. That's the only reason we're denied blowing stuff up at this point. Most devs just don't want to bother, even though the technology is even better than ever. Sometimes a rare game like the Finals comes along and becomes my favorite thing to do. Like, it uses destructible terrain to such an incredible effect. Like, almost everything is destructible, and it makes the game so much better. And especially since it's a competitive game and blowing stuff up fundamentally transforms the arena. It has to be like one of the hardest things to do, because think about doing destruction that is the same for everybody on the server. That's crazy. But also, it's crazy fun. It really, really works well in the balance of the game. It keeps me coming back, and clearly it keeps a lot of other people coming back, because I'm never waiting long in those waiting rooms. But yeah, it's a rare mechanic. You get some indie smash 'em up games once in a while, but most of the best games with destructibility are years old at this point. There's Red Faction, obviously. Also Mercenaries and Earth Defense Force and Battlefield Bad Company. And weirdly enough, Luigi's Mansion 3, a game that lets you absolutely decimate every room you enter. The game is 5 years old on aging hardware and has some of the best destruction ever. So it's not necessarily a matter of technology, it's basically up to developers' willingness to make it happen. Probably budgetary willingness, let's say. Most choose not to, but for the few who do, we at gameranx salute you. It has got to be painful, backbreaking work that a lot of players don't necessarily appreciate, but being able to just totally wreck a place is never going to make a game worse. Only better. Period. My proposal is the people who make the finals make that technology licensable. Come on, guys. Think about it. Embark, you could make so much money while making so many people so happy. And finally, at number 1, inventory Tetris. You know what's boring? Inventories, right? I didn't even give you a chance to answer that one. I said, you know what's boring? Inventories. Most games do not even try to make these things interesting. They're just massive lists of garbage in alphabetical order. It's a massive chore to go through. It's tedious. It's sometimes even difficult on the eyes. It's not fun. It's not engaging. It's an obligation we all have to just grin and bear as we get through it. Hold your nose and deal with it, all right? It doesn't have to be that way, though. And games like Resident Evil 4 show how. Rather than making inventory management an annoying slog, some of these games choose a different option, a better way. They choose inventory Tetris. There are lots of games with limited inventory space, but games that have this mechanic do something interesting. You have a grid. Items take up either one space or more than one space, sometimes have unusual shapes. You have to figure out how to work around it. So you move things around until everything fits, and it's very, very satisfying. It's a simple enough mechanic, and when it's used right, it's not intrusive. But it makes inventory management so much more interesting because if you do it right, it works better. It doesn't make any more sense per se. Like, how's Leon fit all this shit in a case like that? But it does make things interesting. Forces you to think about what you got, and it forces you to make tough choices. And it feels good to make the right tough choice. People love this shit, but it rarely, if ever, pops up in games fully formed. Deus Ex did it along with Human Revolution. Dredge makes great use of the mechanic. There's an indie game that's just doing this stuff, but as an actual mechanic, it's surprisingly rare. Big bonus points for them preserving it in System Shock, and Alan Wake 2 does a pretty decent job with it as well. Still, realistically, it's probably best that only a few games do inventory puzzles. I mean, it really only works in games where you have a small amount of stuff you're carrying. Like, imagine having to do it in Skyrim. It would be an absolute nightmare. Like I said, System Shock is probably about the limit, but in survival horror games, it's perfect. I do have a bonus for you. It's transmog. Here's another one of those features that's becoming more and more common. And it's why modern gaming is in some ways a lot better than it used to be. Call me uncultured or whatever, but I'm happier with games letting me decide how we want our characters to look separate from stats. I mean, not every game, like something like Alan Wake 2 again. I don't really want customization over those characters, but in a lot of open world games, I definitely do. And the best systems keep it real simple. You can put whatever armor or clothes you want on for the protection and bonuses they provide, and then have a separate appearance tab that lets you wear something that doesn't look like you took fashion advice from Jackson Pollock. Yeah, it's fun to look like an idiot sometimes, but sometimes we all want to look normal, and having the option is greatly appreciated. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.